The world's tiniest superhero is getting the serious story he deserves in Quantumania, and it looks like it's going to be the first film in Phase 5 of the MCU. So I was pretty surprised when Paul Rudd let something slip in a recent interview. It'll have less green screen than you think, which might give a few CGI-weary Marvel fans something to be happy about.
Squadron A, go! Beat, go!
Marvel has a tendency to use a bit too much green screen, after all, so the news that they'd be dialing it back for Quantumania was pretty well received, even though a bunch of fans wondered how they were gonna pull it off. Cause this isn't exactly the best movie to experiment with. I don't want to spoil too much here, but the title alone tells me that it's all set in the quantum realm, which is the sort of place where you see all sorts of crazy things. So I gotta wonder, how are they hoping to pull that off without CGI? My suspicions were confirmed when I saw the trailer for the movie, and I have a feeling we're all thinking the same thing. The film still has CGI, except it's awful. Look, I get it. Kevin Feige probably uses Twitter, so he must have read a few tweets from people who hated Marvel's CGI-heavy approach, and I'm not saying he should have ignored them, cause it's good to listen to your fans and tweak future movies based on their input, but come on. When I heard that Quantumania was gonna be low on CGI, I assumed that it meant they'd be using more physical sets. You know, those things people used before CGI was invented. But again, this movie is set in a fantasy world that's supposed to blow our minds, so they were gonna have to shoot some scenes in front of a green screen, and whatever CGI they managed to include looks like it was ripped from a kid's cartoon. It seems like the director bit off a bit more than he could chew with his bold CGI claims. Not only did they flub the unavoidable CGI in certain scenes, but they also had to get very creative when it was time to build some sets, which left a bad taste in Paul Rudd's mouth, and it's not for the reason you'd think. They had to build a new set out of manure. Nope, you're not just hearing things. The set designers on Quantumania actually built a set with animal poop. And what's even funnier is that they didn't even do it on purpose. Basically, there's a particular scene in Quantumania that Rudd absolutely hated shooting. It sounds like a cool sequence, cause it's deep inside the quantum realm in a world that's full of surreal-looking dirt, kinda like an alien planet, except it's really, really small. It apparently has a bunch of crazy-looking buildings too, but those weren't what caught the actor's eye. In fact, the actor's eyes didn't even have anything to do with it, cause it was his nose that told him something was wrong. Since the director wanted to use CGI as little as possible, the crew had to figure out how to create the set physically. And it might surprise you to hear this, but dirt doesn't really come cheap, especially when you need it in such huge quantities. So whoever was responsible for the set design that day decided to take a shortcut, which is to say, they tried to cut costs by buying some super cheap dirt in bulk, only to find out that they'd gotten a big old sack of manure instead. I can only imagine how the set must have smelled that day, and I'm kind of surprised that they still tried to work with it. But after a few hours of shooting, the cast and crew had had enough. It just wasn't possible for them to get any work done with all that stank. That just shows how much trial and error goes into such huge productions.
Punch.
I was in prison for 3 years. I know how to punch.
Show me. Terrible.
Which brings me to the next shocking story from behind the scenes of Quantumania. And when I first heard it, I started to doubt if they'd be able to make the February 17th release date. They were still shooting scenes a couple of weeks ago, which is kind of ridiculous considering the release date is less than half a month away. We've got the trailer and the whole cast doing press junket after junket, but apparently the filmmakers hadn't planned things out that well, cause Paul Rudd was spotted on set on January 6th. The scene didn't seem all that special. It was just a pickup shot of Paul Rudd carrying a box of something or other. It looked like donuts to me, but maybe I'm just hungry. Rudd looked so casual in the shot that it almost seems like he'd picked up some treats for the crew on his way to work.
I know exactly how that is. Located the breach, bringing him in.
But that doesn't seem like a good explanation. For one thing, what was he doing there in the first place? The movie is supposed to be finished already, but there he was on set with cameras rolling. Before you start to worry, this actually isn't super concerning. Big budget movies have to schedule last-minute reshoots all the time, and they can usually get the shots edited into the film before distribution begins. Perhaps they lost some footage and needed Paul to come back for some finishing touches, or maybe they just needed an excuse to return to the filming location, because because from what I've seen, they were making the movie in one of the most beautiful places in the world, and I wouldn't blame them if they used some spare Disney dollars to get back one last time. Breathtaking scenery. You know those pictures of colorful hot air balloons in front of a clear blue sky? They're all taken in Cappadocia, which is where the film happened to be shot. So the cast and crew of Quantumania must have been having the time of their lives while they were there, and they probably did a better job on set because of the serenity of their surroundings. Cappadocia also has some cool historical structures from thousands of years ago, which makes it the perfect surreal landscape to shoot Quantumania in.
Sorry. Oh, seemed like a really great guy.
So when the youngest, newest member of the cast got a surprise call, she thought it might be about playing some golf on the rolling hills. But she'd never have guessed the real reason. Bill Murray called his young co-star when he got the role, even though he didn't even know her. And Murray definitely didn't have golf on his mind when he got in touch with her. I know what you're thinking. Was Murray being creepy? Was he trying to hit up on an up-and-coming actress? He's been kind of inappropriate with co-stars in the past, so it wouldn't exactly be out of character. But as it turns out, his intentions were actually pretty innocent. He just wanted to ask Newton if she was okay with him signing on for a role in the film, and he didn't even call her directly to ask her. He called her mom, who then called her, which must have been a downright weird experience for Newton. I mean, the girl's only just started her career, and there she is getting a call from a legend who's been in some of the best films in history, getting asked for permission to be in the film. Murray clearly just wanted to know if the recent allegations made against him would be a problem for Newton, and as it turns out, she didn't have a problem at all, although the fans might not be so forgiving. We'll just have to wait and see. Those were some of the most shocking behind-the-scenes stories from Ant-Man Quantumania.
They are cowboys. They don't complain. They just get up, do it again.
Oh, by difficult time, he means when my mother died.
We lost her in a plane crash. You would enter a reality. All concepts of time and space.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I call it. Take a position.
I can rewrite existence.
Terrible.
You want to show me how to punch? Show me.
That's officially it. That is. Yes! That was awesome!
Man who can give you the one thing you want.
Time, which I'm obviously not. And I had to learn how to...
Book, he becomes an Avenger, so voila, you know, I come.
It's fired!
So cool to like get in there and have this huge set and all that stuff, and it's just such a...
You know, there's a big hole in the roof.